I want to remind you to connect this to this enemy coming to attack me, because God had gave me the assurance that I had overcame a demonic mountain.
So, welcome to Real Talk with Tracy Metelus. And so, today we're going to talk about an experience that Tracy had, an encounter with the enemy that she is going to share with us today. And we're just going to dive in and really try to dissect, and just so that people can really understand that these things happen and that they are real. So Tracy, we can dive right in, with telling your testimony about your experience, your encounter that you had.
Okay. So I'm going to use my notes just so I can remember everything. So January the 16th. So January 16th, 2024. One morning I was taking my kids to school, and I was just praying to God, and I was just talking to him about different things that I was experiencing in my life. And at that point, it was a situation that seemed like it was a mountain moving situation. So it seemed like this situation was heavily influenced by the enemy. Mm-hmm. So I prayed to God, and I was like, Lord, I need you in this. So I'm driving in my car on my way back home, talking to the Lord about I need you in this moment. While I'm talking to him, I go home, and so I'll go into exactly what happened once I got back home in my home. So I went inside my bedroom, and in this particular time, I was having a conversation with the ministry on a group chat. And while we were talking, I decided that I was just going to take a moment to rest, just so I can start my day. So I closed my eyelids. And the funny thing is, so I'm sitting on my bed, and my back is in the position where my headboard is behind me, where I'm not laying down, but I'm sitting back, resting my eyelids. And all of a sudden, I hear footsteps.
Wow.
So the funny thing is, I'm having a conversation with the ministry about how God, name what mountain God can't move. So in that moment, I'm sharing this part because it took me into that moment to have this experience. Okay. Because I was going through that situation, and God had gave me a breakthrough when he said, name a mountain I can't move. Instantly, I had peace. Now I hear footsteps in my room. So as I hear footsteps walk in my bedroom, I have a dog, and I checked to see, was that her? So I looked at her, and I said, Delta, and she was asleep. So I just kind of brushed it off and, kept going. And so once I kept going, I'm going to make sure that I say everything that needs to be said correctly. So then as I continued on with my thoughts, I was thinking, I know no one that just walked in, but however, I didn't mind. Mm-hmm. When I decided to just sit back, and I felt a presence. So now that I checked and looked at Delta, and she's not moving, when I ignore the footstep sound, I feel a presence come next to me.
And so was this presence, was it a good feeling, a bad feeling, an eerie feeling?
It had an eerie feeling to it. Like something's not right. So I turned around and looked. I just knew it was right next to me, so I just looked. I couldn't see it. Mm-hmm. At this moment, but I just looked and said, wherever you are, get out. Wow. And when I said that to it, Make sure I said, because it was, once again, I just want to make sure I don't skip. I said, get out anything that's not like God. And I just went back to do what I was doing. I rest my eyelids again. And next thing you know, I'm looking through my eyelids. So my eyelids are closed, but I can see through my eyelids. I'm in the same spot in my room, and I see familiar family members. So I'm conversing with them, but I'm not understanding why are they in my room and okay, so now I'm conversing with them, right? And I'm talking to them, and then it dawned on me that we're in my room. It's in the middle of the day. When did they even get here? So now when I realized that, poof.
So you actually thought that they were literally there?
Yes.
In person?
In person.
Okay.
Wow. But soon as my mind could go back to the point where, Tracy, no, they were gone. So then, this is when I realized something is going on in my home and I need to address it. So what I did was I go to grab my phone, and I'm using my arm because this is how I did it. I was going to grab my phone to say something to the chat, the group chat, and let me make sure I'm going in order because it's a lot. So they gone, poof, they disappeared, and when I tried to reach over to grab my phone, I couldn't move my arm. So now I'm in a position where I cannot move my arm. And when I go over to grab my phone and my arm is stuck, that's when I seen a black figure. So when the black figure came into my sight, he made himself visible now. And I could see his hand. Because when I felt him hold me, I said, the blood of Jesus. And then I said, the blood of Jesus is against you. And before you know it, he grabbed my head and started to squeeze my head. So when he's squeezing my head, he tried to cover my eyes. But I didn't want him to cover my eyes. So I started calling on Jesus even the more. And before you know it, when he went to squeezing my head as tight as he can, I never felt nothing so tight in my life. And so I said, Jesus, what is this? And that's when all of a sudden, an eagle appeared in my room.
My God.
It didn't fly in. It didn't come. It just appeared.
Mm-hmm.
And it took all the other mess away. Like, literally, it was so breathtaking to see this. It didn't even move. Like, it just stood there. But it was so breathtaking that I forgot the enemy was there. I forgot I was in a fight because the awe in this moment and the wings was so huge that I didn't know where they stopped. All I knew is if this wing moved, we were under a shadow. So if this wing would move, everything on the block would get, it didn't have to move. But mind you, I do remember seeing the black figure that was so huge before the eagle came, wither out of the window.
So was it like a snake kind of?
Yes, like a wither. It just wiggled on out. But I was so caught up on that eagle that I was like, wow. So now I'm amazed, right? Now I'm in the moment. I'm on fire now. I'm like, oh God, wow. So I now I'm able to grab my phone.
Right, you helped.
So I'm like, oh my word. I'm just like, Jesus. I want to remind you to connect this to this enemy coming to attack me because God had gave me the assurance that I had overcame a demonic mountain, and I believed it and I received it. So now the enemy want to intimidate me and say, no, I'm going to scare you. I'm going to intimidate you. You're going to be afraid. So he didn't just show up like they call it sleep paralysis.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't just show up like that. No, he showed up while I was awake. So I need you to understand the whole encounter and the experience that I'm awake. And so when I get on the phone and I do call a loved one and I speak with her and I'm just sharing with her everything, all of a sudden I see a black figure in the corner. Now, remind you, me and her is on the phone talking about how that eagle, that devil can't come near me. And, we on there fired up like the enemy can't come back in my house. And all of a sudden, I'm on the phone and then I said, I'm going to call you back. I said, I know he's not back, but I knew it was him again. Mm-hmm. So now this time, he used 2 other people that I'm familiar spirits to distract me. 2 people are in my room. And while they're there, the distraction came as if they were working on something that we needed to work on to increase godly stuff. Right. So now he's trying to distract me some more about this is godly. Like this guy, right? Mm-hmm. And I said, they shouldn't be here. They gone. The moment I realized they shouldn't be in my room, poof. So now they're gone. So all of a sudden, my AC unit was turned off this day. It clicked on. Now my eyelids are not closed at this moment, okay? Because I'm telling you, I was just on the phone. Now I'm up. My AC unit clicks. So I said, okay. It clicks off. Mm. Oh. So now I'm looking directly at my bedroom door. And all of a sudden, a black figure shows up. I really can't describe this black, ugly, but he looked like a man, but not a man. Mm-hmm. So he had the fat dreadlocks that he actually tried to look like someone I know that I went to school with. And he had the fat dreadlock thing sticking up, like, so 2 over here and 1 was sticking up in the middle. Mm-hmm. And when I looked at him, I was like, so now he went in my hallway bathroom and he flushed the toilet. So I said, did he just flush the toilet? The moment I said, did he flush the toilet? He flushed it again.
To let you know.
I did. So now I'm like, well, I can flush the toilet too. Soon as I said that, I'm pinned down again. So now, doing this pin down, he's gotten more aggressive. So between my headboard and my mattress, he started pushing my head. So now he's pushing my head. My head is turning and he's just pushing it. And he's pushing it like my head can't fit through this. Mm-hmm. But I started thinking about the eagle that showed up earlier. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, and all of a sudden, it's almost like the eagle said to me, it's in you. And when I felt some strength that came from this appearance of this eagle, girl, all of a sudden, I looked at that thing, I said, and what you gonna do, kill me? You can't touch me. I'm not scared of you. And when I said that, he withered. He got up out of there. And that's when I knew he tried to get me down, but God had rescued me. Yep. Yeah. Yeah, that was
real.
That was real.
That was real. Okay, so now let's do a little bit of background.
Okay.
Because I think all of this ties together.
Okay.
And so one thing for sure we know, that you were also preparing I'm about to cry now.
Yeah.
Jesus. My God. That you were also preparing for a conference. And so with this conference, the preparation of the conference, also going through a 39-day fast.
Yes. Yes.
And so I want you really to share about what the conference was birthing, because now the conference is over. Okay. So we understand what happened, right? So now we can share, because then that also plays into what the enemy was trying to do. Because I think a lot of times when we are in preparation for what God is calling us to do, and how we have these experiences, and some of us don't make it through the experience, we quit.
Correct.
Right?
Correct. Because
that was like a death experience.
Yes.
And so, but it's twofold. We have the ability to engage and not engage. And so, and I don't want to get too far ahead of myself, but just want to set the tone, is that one thing you talked about was familiar spirit. And you said the moment, basically, you disengaged, it went away.
Correct.
But if you would have continued to engage, that would have created a different experience.
Correct.
So let's hold on to that, because I don't want us to lose that, because I think that's so important. But let's go back to the backdrop of the 39-day fast and just explaining those processes of what you go through when you are fasting and when you're in preparation for something as big as what had taken place in the conference, and how the enemy will try to come.
So I would say the preparation, of course, that was in the middle of our fasting time. And in that timing of us fasting and turning down our plates, and I mean, we were fasting to the point where we weren't eating anything at some days, or we were just going long hours with just drinking water. And, you know, in that timing of trusting God and preparing for something so large, the enemy always tried to come with something that distracts you or deter you from the purpose. And so with us fasting to birth out what God wanted to birth in that conference, the enemy definitely wanted to discourage me, because the connection of what I was praying about in the car tied into our finances with birthing this conference. It tied into the goal of what happens after the conference. A lot of it tied into what God was doing for us and with us. But this is something that I want to say that was very important about this this moment of me praying in regards to seeking his face to help us in this situation. Whoever you are connected to and the ranking that God has called you to, the enemy sends that same level, and I want you to help me break it down when I explain what I'm saying, but the enemy sends that level of attack to you. Yes. And you have to overcome that to be to take authority, or to have authority and dominion over that. Do you understand what I'm saying? Yes. Over that level to grow.
Higher levels, bigger devils.
Okay. Yeah. So the conference was an elevation.
Yes.
So the enemy didn't just show up. When he showed up with the familiar spirits, I instantly was like, no, get out. Or when he showed up, like just showing up like he wanted to act as if he was getting ready to do a sleep. They call it sleep paralysis. But, you know, when you can't move, he showed up in my bed as if he was getting ready to do something like that. But he knew instantly. I'm like, get out. And we're not doing that. So that's why he showed up like, oh, no, she's elevated. something's new being birthed, I have to show up myself. And that's where, I realize these days of fasting, preparing for this conference, and even being connected and being in a place where I thought these individuals was the ones that God had to help us push the business aspect of things, and those weren't the ones that God had chose for us. So all this chaotic stuff trying to happen and crash down on us.
Right.
And God shows himself.
Yes. That's good. So now you mentioned familiar spirits. So let's dig a little deeper and just explain to our audience, like really what is a familiar spirit and what is the purpose of familiar spirits.